Baruch Hashem, thank you for being here to celebrate the Torah. All right, so a few words about the beauty of Torah and the Olam Haba. Let's see. So in the Masechet Brachot 64a, Rabbi Elazar said, in the name of Rabbi Chanina, Torah scholars increase peace in the world, and all your sons will be disciples of Hashem, and abundant will be the peace of your sons. Do not read your sons, Banaich, but your builders, Bonaich. Thus the verse refers to Torah scholars who build the world with their Torah, and as they who in the verse words generate peace in the world. The SIYUM Shas says something amazing about this. And he begins with chapter Chelik of Sanhedrin 99b. He says, Rabbi Alexandri said, whoever engages in Torah study for its own sake establishes peace in the upper heavenly host and in the lower heavenly host. As is stated, if Israel would grasp my stronghold, referring to my Torah, then he will make peace with me, peace he will make with me. Yeshiva 27:5. This is because whoever engages in Torah study, harmful spirits withdraw from him, and thus there is peace. The Gemara states further that a person who engages in Torah study is as though he is protecting the entire world. This is because when a person studies Torah, there is peace in the world, since the power of the harmful forces is nullified. This is the meaning of what is stated in Breitza in the Gemara. Rabbi Elazar said, in the name of Rabbi Chanina, what we cited earlier, Torah scholars increase peace in the world. And as a proof, the Gemara there immediately cites the verse, all your children will be students of Hashem, and the peace of your children will be abundant. And expounds, do not read the work as Banaich, your builders, but as Bonaich, with a Vav, your builders. Do not read as your children, but as your builders. We see that Torah scholars are referred to as builders. This is because the Torah scholar protects the entire world, fending off the harmful forces with his study, as though he is actually building the world. The Nefesh Chaim also explains another level of this. It says the term build the world by noting that with each act of Torah and mitzvot, one strengthens and brings order to the spiritual dimension of the world. Regardless of if you're a Torah scholar or not, you're studying Torah. With each act of Torah and mitzvot, you're building the world, and consequently to its physical dimension as well. Thus, those who occupy with the study of Torah are actually building the world itself. Right? But not only this world we're also building our Olam Haba, and specifically our enjoyment of Olam Haba. There's Rav Nissim Yigin, Zatzal. He says something absolutely incredible. There's a chapter in his book about the beauty of Torah, life of Torah. It says investing in the future, chapter 17. After a long life, Yehuda Israeli left this world. He came before the heavenly court with many big suitcases filled with mitzvot, laying tefillin, observing Shabbat, giving tzedakah. One by one, the mitzvot were taken out and examined. For every single day that he put on tefillin, he was assigned a reward that was greater than the whole universe. Imagine people have boats, people have islands, whatever, the whole universe for one tefillin. For every Shabbat he observed, or rather for every second of every Shabbat he observed, the reward was so great they had to revive him with smelling salts. He kept on passing out how great the reward was. When he finished informing him of the reward for all his mitzvot, they injected him with megadoses of vitamins, the vitamins we don't have in this world apparently, so we could bear the happiness, so we could to be able to actually experience the joy of these mitzvot. For the next phase, not just Shabbat, not just tefillin, but for what? The reward that will be infinitely greater than all the previous mitzvot combined. As an added precaution, he had angels to the side of him, to the left of him, just to support him, keep him able to bear this joy, this pleasure in the Olam Haba. They say at 8:30 p.m. on Monday, the 2nd of Cheshvan, you attended a Torah Shura for 59 minutes. During that time, 134 Torah statements were made. For statement 1, the reward is. For statement 2, the reward is. For statement 3, etc., etc. Keeps on going on. The angels caught Yehuda as he fainted and revived him each time, so he could hear the rest of the list, all the reward that we would have. This is a plain meaning of the Gemara in Yushlami Piyah 4:1, that all the mitzvot together cannot equal one word of Torah learning. So he gives a little note here. It says if we start yawning when we open a sefer or attending a shore, it's because we don't have this visual in our mind with how great the reward is of us learning Torah. He also cites the Rabbi Chaim Vital. He says the key to Gan Eden, or to the full enjoyment of Gan Eden, and one's portion there is actually Torah study. So the amount of Torah that you have, the amount of Torah you study, determines how much you're actually going to enjoy your Olam Haba. Okay. See, another way to build your Olam Haba. Besides just Torah study, what else can you do? Right? You only have so much time in a day, especially if you're working and then studying. You only study so much. What else can you do? Pirkei Avot, we have Rabbi Yaakov, Avot 4:22. He says, Teshuvah and good deeds. Masim Tovim. So, of course, we have Teshuvah we can do for ourselves. Teshuvah, constantly coming closer to Hashem, constantly increasing our Torah study. But we can also build up from that point. Build up from our own Teshuvah and work to a higher level. What is this higher level? Bava Batra 9a states in the name of Rabbi Elazar again, says, one who causes others to perform meritorious act is greater than one who performs the act himself. One who encourages others to learn Torah is greater. One who encourages others to give tzedakah, whose reward is greater. So, if you want to build your Olam Haba exponentially, then help others build their Olam Haba as well. And to make that easier for you, there's some resources on the table. If you'd like to take on your way out, if you want some more and there's not enough, then let me know. I could have more. You grab where you like. If you see any Jew who maybe needs chazuk, maybe someone who's not so observant, you could give them this. B'ezras Hashem, they do tshuva. They do tshuva, they keep Shabbat. You don't go up with all your Shabbats, you go up with double your Shabbats. They start laying tefillin, you go up with double the tefillin. If they start studying Torah, they listen to the CDs, the USBs, anything like that, then you go up with their Torah as well. So your reward in Olam Haba goes exponentially high. All right? So, just with a minimal effort, you could become a builder of Am Israel, and you're Olam Haba, of course. And instead of being just a bin Torah, which is a huge thing in and of itself, you become a bonei Torah, a builder of Torah, builder of Torah mitzvot. So, B'ezras Hashem, thank you for being here. Okay. All right. Last verse. Okay. Last verse? Yeah.
Yeah, last verse, last line.
Okay. The Gemara closes with citing several verses on the theme of peace. Abundant peace to those who love your Torah, and there will be no obstacle for them. There will be peace within your wall, Jerusalem, serenity within your palaces. For the sake of my brothers and comrades, I will pronounce peace upon you, Jerusalem. For the sake of Hashem, for the sake of the house of Hashem, our God, I will request good for you, Jerusalem. Hashem will give might to his nation. Hashem will bless his people with shalom. Okay. Hadran alak, Talmud Bavli, Hadran alan, Datan alan alak, Meseket, Talmud Bavli, Vadatak alan la Natneshe, Menak, Meseket Talmud Bavli.
No, yeah, Talmud Bavli.
Below Tanashe, Manan la Balama, Adin, below Balama, Tate.
You could do the Yiratzon actually. Yiratzon.
Okay. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu le'avotenu sheteneh Toratecha u'molatenu ba'olam hazeh uthe emanu le'olam haba. Chanina bar Papa, Rabbi bar Papa, Nachman bar Papa, Achai bar Papa, Abba Mari bar Papa, Rafram bar Papa, Rakish bar Papa, Surchav bar Papa, Ada bar Papa, Daru bar Papa.
You want to do that? You could just want to go to the Kaddish?
Yes.
Do the Kaddish.
Right. Yigdal vit Kadash Shmei Rabbah. Belma dehu Atid Li'itachata Data.
Oh. You turn around.
Oh.
You don't have to, but okay.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll hold it. Dihu Atid.
Diratid
Li'itchada.
Rotzach
La'achaya.
Chaya
Mataya.
Mataya
L'asaka.
Wasakha
Yitron.
Yitachon
L'chayalma.
Lechayama
ולמבנה
ולמבנה קרתה
לירושלים
ירושלים
ולשכללה
ושללה
יכלה בגרבה
יקלה בגרבה
ולמעקר
ולמלכה
הלחנה
הלכה
נוכרה
ונוכחה מין הרע
להטבה
ולהטבה
הלחנה
ולהטחה
לשמיה
שמיה
לאתרי
לאתרי
וימליך קודשה
קדשו בריחו
במלכותי
ולמלכותי
ויקרא
יקרא
ויצמח
וישמח
וקנה
וקנה
ויקרב
יקרב
משיחה
משיחה
וחייכון
וחייכון
ונכון
ונכון
וחיי דחול
ונכון
בית ישראל
בית ישראל
בעגלה
בעגלה
בזמן קריב
בזמן קריב
ואמרו אמן
ואמרו אמן. Amen. Shemei Rabbi Merach Lemir Mir Maya. Yehi Shemei Rabbi Merach Le'olam Lemir Maya. Yitbarach v'yishbarach v'yitmarab v'yitmamam v'yivaseh yitodar yitodeh yitalal Shmei Dikcho Brichu. Lelama Mikol ברכתה, ושכרתה, תשבחתה, נחמתה, דרענן, בעלמה, ואמרו, אמן.
על ישראל,
על ישראל,
ועל רבנן,
ועל רבנן,
ועל תלמידון,
ועל תלמידון,
ועל כל תלמידי
תלמידי
תלמידון,
תלמידון,
ועל כל
מאן דעסקין,
ברייתא,
ברייתא,
דיבעתרא,
עדן, בדי,
בכל, אתר,
ואתר,
יהיה
להון, ולכון, שלמה, רבה, חינה וחסדה, רחמים, וחיים, ערכין, ומזונה, רווחי, ופורקנה, מקדם, אברון, דיבשמיא, והרע, ואמרו, אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיי טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרוריו וברחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ואמרו אמן.
ברכה. Give me a bracha.
Hashem bless you with true good in this world and the next.
Amen.
Bless me, bro. You gotta bless me now. May Hashem bless you with true good in this world and the next.
Best of the best.
Thank you to see.
עליך יתרומם ויתעלה לעבר ציון על קודשך שם נשמח ונעלה ביום שמחה לשבח לאדוני בפה מלא לעבר ציון
נטילת ידיים! נטילת ידיים! כל הכבוד. כן ירבו, another shot. Next
Yes, B'ezrat Hashem. Beginning again.
Again.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So just a couple words of Torah, Lichvod Torah and Lichvod SIYUM of all of Shas Kodesh. Baruch Hashem. So you talked about the words Bonayich, Benayich and Bonayich. So what could possibly be the connection between children and construction people? I have no idea, right? Baruch Hashem. Except that, Baruch Hashem, I'm lucky to have Bonayich in terms of Torah. Why? Torah first. Torah first, Baruch Hashem. You know, people sitting in Yeshiva in this Eretz Yisrael and here in America. Baruch Hashem, I'm also Bonayich in terms of physical Bonayich. They built the synagogue itself, the actual walls. Actually, interesting. What? And the mikvah. Everything has an order. Don't worry. But the connection between the two words, first of all, one thing to understand is any time you have a drush, a midrash, a discussion where they're bringing two different sides or they're bringing different ways to interpret words, understand that the simple meaning without the drush, without the addition, and plus the meaning which is given with the drush are always going to be very connected and very interconnected. So there must be something more to it. And of course we heard a number of explanations that connect the two words, but I'll give one other one. And that is very interesting. You know the Gemara itself, right? The Gemara itself is written in Hebrew. The Gemara is written in Aramaic. In fact, as we know, there are two Gemaras. There's a Gemara that's written in Eretz Yisrael, and there's a Gemara that's written in Bavel. Both of them are in Aramaic. They're just in two different versions of Aramaic. So the one that is in Eretz Yisrael seems much closer to Hebrew because it is a Yerushalmi form of Aramaic, and the Aramaic which was spoken in Bavel is what the other one was in. As it was in the colloquial language. It was the language of the country that it was in. There certainly are drushim that would explain the why would they choose, for example, Aramaic over Hebrew or other languages. But without getting into that, I will point out that they in fact wanted this to be understood. They wanted people to learn. They wanted people to gather something from the text. And they knew that if they did it in the language that people spoke from birth and grew up with, that language would in fact have the greatest impression. So meaning the Gemara itself was not necessarily written for some esoteric rabbi in the middle of nowhere. It was not written for the Gadol Hador. It was written for everyone. Granted, with the read the Dorot, perhaps maybe all of us are not so savvy when it comes to learning the text because of the difficulty. But I'll tell you the reason why we're not so savvy is because we didn't learn the text. Kind of funny. It's almost like the reason why you can't learn or it's hard to learn is because you haven't learned. So actually, believe it or not, starting in English, for example, and reading it in English and learning it in English is actually an excellent way to begin the process. But I'll explain to you why it's such an amazing process. And that is the Gemara was written in a certain fashion. It was written in order to train and to build your mind. It was in order to train you to be something more. See, halakha of course, which is dear to every Sephardi in particular, right? We have a strong affinity right away to halacha. Bottom line, what's the halacha? What do I do? Of course, everything is built on that yesod. That's the most fundamental of all. Yet the Gemara itself, of course, brings about this halacha through a series of proofs, a series of logical feats, in order for us to be able to internalize it, make it part of us, and actually bring it to something more, to bring us to a mental state, to bring us to a point of being able to understand in a Jewish fashion. You understand, you learn halakha, you got the rules, I follow the rules, but in order to really be able to internalize the Torah and halakha, you also have to think with a Jewish cup, as they say. You have to think the way a Jew should think, and a Jewish cup does not mean the way we culturally think, right? That's certainly not the case. The cultural stuff, forget about it. What you stuff your kibbeh with or what you make your matzah bowls is irrelevant, right? What really matters, of course, is how you engage Torah itself, how do you engage knowledge itself, how do you engage the world around you, and how do you process that information through a filter of Torah itself. And that, of course, comes with molding our minds around the way a Jew should think and does think and has to think, and that is the way the Torah presents itself through the Gemara. The Gemara goes ahead and it basically brings us through a process where it says, okay, where did this material come from? What's the source of this material? What was the initial thoughts I might have thought was the halakha? And then again, it goes ahead again, it rips it apart piece by piece. Could it possibly be like this? Could it be possibly like that? And over again, and piece by piece again, it tears apart every single letter and makes every single letter precious and important, by showing you that there is nothing about any statement which is made by the Rabbanim, any statement which is made by a Kodesh Baruch Hu in the Torah Kula, that in fact does not have significant and powerful meaning. And this is exactly what the Torah does for us in life. It gives us a power to act and be a Jew, to act and way in a fashion that is becoming of a Jew, and to think. Therefore, it only makes sense if we have the means to act, that we should also have the means to think. And that, of course, is what Torah Kula does. So learning the entire Shas in any capacity means to say that a person is prepared to learn it again. It doesn't really mean much more than that, but it means to say that you, well, by the way, when we say that you learn it again, it's really not that. It's just that every single time you approach a piece of Torah, it's a brand new book. It's never the same thing twice. So what ends up happening is, whether it's again in English, why not? Or even again, with building up your skills in terms of the language itself, he says it's all irrelevant. What is relevant is that it's another time to approach it. The first time, the 400th time are still not the same. And if you learn it 401 times, you still don't know it. You've only experienced it. In fact, the Torah itself, learning Torah, is an experience. We never talk about, there's a mitzvah for everybody to know Torah. You never hear that. There's a mitzvah to learn Torah. The reason is because the learning itself, the experience, the process is what makes you and changes you, and is in fact the actual mitzvah itself. It's not the knowledge, the passive aspect, but the actual doing of it. And in truth, that process is a process of binyan, of creation, of structure, for going from one place to another. In fact, we even use the language, as you're an educator, you know, we use the languages of structure. We use the languages of creation and building. When we talk about structure and sort of learning in terms of the processing and so forth and so on. But all those things are what the Torah gives us. So the truth of the matter is, he says the Torah, being a ben Torah, is to be a boneh. And to be a boneh, it really means to be a ben Torah. By the way, just a quick side, even in the physical world itself, by the way, I can't tell you how many times I've walked into situations where I've seen somebody, these are skilled workers supposedly, that are trying to actually fit, for example, a mattress through a door frame, and they're having a lot of trouble. Now, I look at it and I say, do this and push. And of course they do it and it works. So the reason is because, well, I'm thinking with the Torah process in my mind. It doesn't make a difference. Etc. Whatever it might be. The point of the matter is that your mind changes, your ability to even understand the world changes, but changes for not in terms of smarts. Of course, smarts will come, but also most importantly, in the correct and proper view of a ben Torah. In other words, that he's boneh correctly to build the B'ezrat Hashem, that Sulam B'ezrat Hashem, to Shemayim and to Torah Mitzvot. And I'm so, Baruch Hashem, so grateful, so thankful that I could be here to enjoy and be part of your simcha, to say a couple words of Torah. And mamash, and really, it's a tremendous zchut that we have, that you shared your simcha with us, and you did your simcha in our place. You can come to me saying thank you. The opposite, thank you. What do you mean? Baruch Hashem, it's an amazing place. Baruch Hashem, there are more people, even standing in this room right right now that have finished Shas Kula, some of us numerous times. And Baruch Hashem, I think in almost the entire area. And that's an amazing thing. Our just one last thing in terms of praise of my community, because Baruch Hashem, is that this community, Baruch Hashem, when everybody did a big party as their opening for the door, we basically did a SIYUM Masechta every week for months. That was our Chanukah the Bayit. No parties, no this. The Chanukah the Bayit was a SIYUM Masechta over and over. Actually, not, I didn't say every week, I mean every day. With another, so basically, between all of us, one Masechta after another, so we stored them up for a little while. So Baruch Hashem, we had one after another, and it was really much. That's the way that we build for real. In other words, not build, which is not real. B'ezrat Hashem. Rabbi Reuven, B'ezrat Hashem, if you give us a couple words.
ברשות הרב, ברשות הקהל, ברשות החתן, ברוך השם, SIYUM SHAS Bavli, not only a SIYUM, which is in itself a extraordinary thing, which B'ezrat Hashem will try to discuss a little bit, but also it's a SIYUM SHAS in a year. And that's one of the things that, Baruch Hashem, I think if I had any merit in the whole thing, that was just to get him to realize that he could do it, not only finish the Shas, and Baruch Hashem, many other Talmidim, but to do it in a year. If a person wants to do something, they can do it. The biggest reason of why somebody doesn't do something is simply they can't put their mind around it to see how could I do it. But that's usually in the world of Torah. If it comes to business, whether he's 18 years old or he's 80 years old, he still thinks he can become the richest person in the world. You know, whether it's the first house he bought or it's the 50th building that he bought, he still thinks that he has more room for more. You know, it's if it's racing a car, even if he has a car that's 10 years old and the alternator just went, he still thinks he could beat the guy driving a Lamborghini right next to him. Why? When it comes to materialism, a person always thinks that he can do more than what he really can. When it comes to Torah, unfortunately, the Yetzer Hara works very hard to convince you that you can't. Do the things that you can. How do we know we can? That's what we're created for. In your mouth, in your heart, to do it. Meaning what? I created you for that. This is your DNA. Your DNA is to learn Torah. DNA is not to build a building. Your DNA is not to be a doctor. Your DNA is not to be a good lawyer that convinces the judge that your criminal client is not really a criminal. It's not. Your DNA, your spiritual DNA, is to learn Torah. But the Yetzer Hara convinces us that we don't have time. For sure, nobody has time. Somehow there's 24 hours that everybody has. Some people finish the Shas, and some people don't, finish eating. That's it. That's the difference. How could it be? We both have 24 hours, but one person finished the Shas. Another person, perhaps, he finished telling his wife a story of what happened at work today. The difference is, one guy was convinced by the Yetzer Hara that he doesn't have time. The other guy also heard the Yetzer Hara, but he said, listen, I'm too busy learning the Shas to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to continue learning. It's not that the Yetzer Hara wasn't convincing for him too. He was convincing. He just didn't have time to listen to him while he was too busy learning Torah. So the question is, how do we convince ourselves to learn Torah? B'ezrat Hashem, b'siyat Yishmai, I learned from my Rav, Rabbi Ephraim, Baruch Hashem, everything I know, and I'll try to tell you a few things that, for me, was inspirational, that hopefully, if we can get another person to learn, whether it be the Shas in a year, or even to finish a Masechet, or even if it's just simply to convince yourself that you can do it, and start doing it, whatever it is that you're going to do, then Baruch Hashem, we succeeded. Several years ago, we had an event in Eretz Yisrael, and my dear Rav had one of his crazy ideas. I call them crazy ideas because to him it's a reality. To me, it's something that doesn't exist. We convinced two secular guys, two guys that were completely secular. They used to be religious. Then, they had some really, horrible rabbis that tormented them and convinced them to leave God. So they became not just secular. When you become secular, when you used to be religious, it's almost like it's the worst possible thing in the world, just like the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim says. So these guys left everything. Now we convinced them to learn the Shas. But not only learn the Shas in a year. They never finished the Shas before. But you can do it. How do you convince a secular guy that you can finish the Shas in 1 year? $10,000. $10,000 each. You convince them to finish the Shas. And guess what? They finished the Shas. And then the next year they did it again. And they're both religious. And they have, Baruch Hashem, fantastic, different life. But after we saw it work the first time, we figured, you know what, let's have another event and convince more people. So we had an event. Baruch Hashem, a lot of people came, all types of good things. And then the goal of the whole event is to convince people to finish the Shas in 1 year. Each person gets money. Baruch Hashem, a few dozen people signed up, 17 completed. 17 people finished the Shas for the first time in a single year. The next year we did it again, and Baruch Hashem, dozens and dozens of people signed up, dozens and dozens of people succeeded. But even the ones that didn't complete it in 1 year continued because they liked it, because they saw that it said, and you run into somebody and say, oh, listen, you remember that event that you had 4 years ago? I don't know, we had, Baruch Hashem, lots of things to do. What's the event? Listen, we did the Shas 1 year, I didn't do it. Oh, okay, well, so what happened? No, I just did it now, I just finished it now after 2.5 years. I'm like, oh, so we succeeded. We succeeded, and it was for free too. But the best thing is that they were convinced that they can do it. How do we convince ourselves that we can do it also when we're all busy and we all have problems and we all have headaches and we all don't understand and we all do understand and all the different things? So now the first thing is, first a person needs to know what is the purpose of learning Torah. And of course there's a lot of things you need to learn. Like the Rabbi was saying, you have to think like a Jew. You have to have a Jewish cup, meaning you have to know how to think. That's what we learn Shas. That's what we learn Halakha. We need to know what to do. But the Arizal obviously going deeper into this as far as the mysticism, and he says in essence, the purpose of learning Torah is in order to destroy the klipot. You have kedusha, you have tum'ah. You want kedusha. Even a secular Jew, you tell him you want kedusha, I'll say yes. Everybody wants kedusha. How do you get more kedusha? By learning Torah. The problem is when the more you learn Torah, the more difficulties you're going to run into. And the reason why we don't understand things is because of the tumah, because of the klipa that's in the way. Just like a fruit, there's different fruits, and each one of the fruits have a peel, have a klipa. So you have the peel of, let's say, the tomato or the apple, and then you have a peel of the coconuts in my backyard, and probably your backyards also, in front yards. You know, now you break that klipa, the apple versus the klipa of the coconut. I don't have to explain to you that there's a world of difference. One requires teeth, and the other one requires a hammer. Same concept with Torah. When it comes to Torah, in the beginning, there's an enormous klipa. Why? You don't understand anything. I remember when I first started learning Torah, it would take me 6.5 hours to read one daf of Gemara. And after the 6.5 hours, I concluded I don't understand anything that I just read for 6.5 hours. The klipa was, to say it was a coconut, is a compliment. How do you break the klipa? You keep going. You don't give up. Just like if you're hungry and the only thing you have to eat is a coconut, you're going to eat it, even if the only thing you have is your teeth, you're going to find a way to eat it. Same concept. So the Arizal says that the strength that we have as far as Kedusha is all based on weakening the klipot. Now, unlike secular knowledge, where from generation to generation, the secular knowledge builds on itself in order to develop new conclusions that are better than the previous conclusions. So you see the people that, whether it's Thomas Edison or it's any of the other creators and inventors and philosophers or whatever it is, whatever they came up with 500 years ago, 400 years ago, 300 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, is nothing in comparison to how we view the things that are being created now. Somebody came up with the iPhone, we thought it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Right now, the iPhone is standard. Why? You have AI. Artificial intelligence can make you do anything that you want to do if you simply know how to do it. You create AI agents. You could, in essence, take my lectures and translate them into 15 different languages, and you hear me in Spanish, in German, in French, in Indonesian, in Chinese, in Korean, and yes, you can go online and you can see me speak all these different languages. I don't speak Chinese, by the way. But there are thousands of people that watch my shiurim in these different languages by using this technology. The beauty is that the Torah is the exact opposite. Why? The Torah we don't build into new conclusions that are better than the past. Rather, we realize that we have a lot more klipot, a lot more difficulties, a lot less knowledge and kedusha, and therefore we know for sure that everyone, all of the chachamim from the previous generations, know more than we do. It is not possible for you to say that you're right and Abaye is wrong. It's not possible for it to be correct that you're right and the Rambam is wrong. It's not possible. There's no reality that exists where we are right and Rashi is wrong. There's no such reality. Yeah, but what about that I have an iPhone and I have AI? Good for you. You could play with AI, maybe invent something. But Torah, you're not going to invent something new. Torah, we rely on the Masorah that we have throughout all the traditions. Now, the Arizal says that in order for us to truly understand this, we have to break the klipot. We have to go through the struggle of learning day in, day out. And Baruch Hashem, we give lectures over the last decade. Lots of people from all over the world watch the shiurim, get chizuk, change their life. But not everybody. And the reason why is because there's a difference between somebody like Natan and another person. Two people can watch a shiur, two people can read a book, two people can hear a message, but there will be two completely different conclusions. Not because they have two different brains, they both have the same exact brain, they both have the same exact abilities, they both have the same level of IQ, they were both created to learn Torah, but the difference between one and the other is that one decided to take the inspiration and run with it every day, meaning he has to continue investing in himself, convincing himself that the original message is still relevant even though it's 6 months later. Meaning you heard, you could do it in 1 year, and you have to convince yourself the second day, and the third day, and the fourth day, and the fifth day, and the 10th day, and 6 months later, and 7 months later, and when everybody tells you you're crazy, and when everybody tells you let's do something else, and you have to convince yourself every day. So the original message really has helped you in the beginning, but right now you got to help yourself. And then there's the other guy. The other heard the same exact message, and he simply just did nothing with it. The lecture was good, he inspired, he said Chazaku Baruch, he shook your hand, he even gave you a donation. But he didn't do anything with it for himself. So the Arizal says that that's the klipa. The klipa is going to get in our way to convince us that we can't do. And somehow we have to convince ourselves the same way we convince ourselves with our business deals and with the relationships and with everything else. That a person convinces themselves, we have to convince ourselves. Now, a person that completes the Talmud becomes part of the Tikkun Olam. But now, this person that learned the Torah, this person that completed the Talmud, completed Shulchan Aruch, completed, and even a sefer, a regular sefer that was written by one of the Chachamim, that sense of completion, number one, obviously is a very good feeling. But also that sense of completion breaks a certain shell, a certain level of the klipa that is going to help you have the motivation and the know-how to learn the next time. You didn't have this tool, you didn't have this ability before you completed the Shas that first time. That's why the Rav was saying, the second time you finish the Shas, or the 400th time that you finish the Shas, it's a completely different Shas. Not because you're reading different words, but rather because the tools that you have now are not the same as the tools you had yesterday. I'm not even just talking about the tools you had a year ago. Yesterday, the tools and the world that you live in were different than what you have now. It's a different reality. What do we compare it to? The common word that most of us said, and Bezrat Hashem will say, the ones that haven't, that people like to hear is, Areat mekudeshet li. You are my wife now. How? I'm sanctifying you. Now those words are powerful. Why? They change reality. Because before you said those words, she was just another girl. You aren't allowed to do anything. She wasn't allowed to do anything. Now, you're allowed to each other and no one else, to such an extent that Torah says it's a horrible thing. Adultery is death penalty. It's skila, it's stoning. If she's a bat kohen, it's a srefa. Horrible things happen if this commitment that happens after these few words changes. Once you said those words, the reality changed. The reality changed. Your reality changed. Her reality changed, especially for her. The reality changed. Why? Because the Torah says, once you say those words, that's it. She's yours. She's an eshet ish. She's an eshet ish. She's not a little girl anymore. She's not a single girl anymore. She's yours. You changed everything. When a person says, Adran alach, Talmud Bavli, it changes everything also. Why? Because you just officially broke a level of klipa, a certain layer of klipa that is beyond our comprehension. And now the tools that you have and the ability that you have to understand the next shiur by the rabbi, the next sefer you're going to read, the next time you read the same words you just read now, you now have a new set of tools that never existed before. Now, if a person listens to the Chachamim, they're going to continue doing this every day. They're not going to necessarily do it one time and finish. Why? Because every time you do it, you get new tools. Every time you do it, you break another klipa. Each siyum brings another complete part of the crown that you could present to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One of the problems that we have today in many yeshivot, many people that learn Torah, is that they learn partial books. They'll learn Masechet Brachot, but only certain pages. They'll learn Masechet Yoma, but only certain sections. They'll learn, tell them, what are you learning? Oh, I'm learning, Masechet Sotah. Great. 6 months later, you ask them, what are you learning? Oh, I'm learning Masechet Sotah. Oh, you guys that slow? Or no, we usually spend 3, 4, 5, 6 days on one daf. I said, are you Rashi? Are you Tosfot? Which one are you? Why is it taking so long? Because the learning is very different. And what ends up happening is that if a person continues to learn in that way, many Chachamim, including Chacham Ovadia, spoke against it because that level of pilpul, when you first time learning the Shas, is not going to get you any sense of achievement. You're never going to complete anything. You're never going to complete a Masechet. You're never going to complete anything. And what ends up happening is a lot of times people go to Yeshiva, they learn, they're every day, the parents pay the thousands and thousands of dollars every single month for them to finish Yeshiva, they almost become secular. Even if, they may keep Shabbat, they may continue, with the kippah and everything else, but as far as learning Torah, it disappears many times. Why? Because they don't have the real connection to the learning of a Torah because they don't complete anything. They left Yeshiva, 18, 20 years old, and they maybe, if we're lucky, they have one Masechet under their belt. Torah in Sof is good, but you have to have level, everybody understands that even though I can read the Chumash 500 times, when I complete it one time, there's a certain level of achievement. When I only completed one parasha 500 times, but nothing else ever again, there's no achievement. You didn't do anything. Why? Because the rest of the Torah you still didn't read. So when you finish the entire Masechet, it's a certain connection that a person has that is very similar to marriage, just like when you say, Areat mekudeshet li, you now have a wife, you now have, during those words, the Chachamim say that the neshamot connect officially during that time, even before there's actual physical connection. And the same concept when you actually complete a Masechet, needless to say, when you complete a Shas or any level of Torah, your neshama now connects with the Torah. Connecting with the Torah is the ultimate fuel to help you learn more Torah. Now, when the Chachamim gave us all of the words that they said, they assumed that we would understand everything like they did. But things changed. One of the Chachamim wrote a sefer called Zecher David. In Sefer Zecher David, Perek Lamed Dalet, Ma'amar Rishon, he says תכלית לימוד התורה הוא להכניע הקליפות ולברר מהם ניצוצות הקדושה שבתוכם. The ultimate purpose of learning Torah is to submit the klipot, the tum'ah, the barriers between us and learning more Torah, the barriers between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the barriers between us and understanding the Torah, in order to take the nitzitzot, the sparks of kedusha from them. Meaning, you have the klippah, there's all types of things that are out there, you want to take the good that's in it. The problem is, he says, כיוון שראה רבנו הקדוש, רבי יהודה הנשיא, saw שנתמתו הלבבות והשכחה איתה מתרבה והולכת. That רבנו הקדוש, רבי יהודה הנשיא, saw that people started forgetting. People started forgetting. Therefore, he realized that the next generation is not going to understand like us. At the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, everything was by heart. Fast forward to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, he realized, if we continue by heart, there will not be Am Yisrael. There will not be Am Yisrael. So we have to write parts of the Torah. And he says, at those times, the Mishnah was enough. Now you go learn halakha from the Mishnah, good luck to you in knowing how to even keep Shabbat. You don't know anything. You read the Mishnah, okay, fine. You read nice, a few things. Perhaps you can understand the stories. But you read the Mishnah, you're not going to understand everything. Why? Because we see the Mishnah, there's so many things that come out of it. But at the time of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, that was enough. They looked at the Mishnah and they understood the Torah. Fast forward, as the Rabbi was saying, they wrote the Talmud Yerushalmi. Why? Because they saw that the next generation requires further explanation. Fast forward, they needed a Talmud Bavli. And the Chachamim say that each generation, there's a degradation of the generations. Each generation is less and less. Why? Because there's more klipa, there's more barriers. This is why if you open a Rambam, you see a Rambam write an halakha, 2 lines, 3 lines, finished. You understand everything he says more or less in a few words. One of the Chachamim of the generation writes a book just about that halakha. How come? When somebody walks into a room and it's completely dark and he has to look and find the switch, what can he do? It's completely dark. He has to find a switch, turn on the light. So what do you do? Touch the walls. Touch the walls, looking for the switch. That's the Chachamim. The Rambam knew exactly where it was and he turned on the light. That's the difference. The Rambam wrote exactly what it is, how it is, completely clear. That's in his generation. Our generation, we are still looking for the switch. But the point is just like the Rabbi was saying, the goal is not necessarily to know everything. The goal is to learn everything, to learn as much as we possibly can and convince ourselves that although we may not have the same tools as the previous generations, we still have the same exact obligation. We still have the same abilities to use our bodies, to use our time. And we just have to complete this task, and then we finish. Now, most of the times that a person is going to convince themselves that they can't do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them to do, it's usually because they're busy. It's usually because they're busy. Whether you work 8 hours a day like most normal people, or you work 20 hours a day, you're busy. You're always busy. Busy is a normal thing for most people when it comes to Torah. When it comes to going to the park, when it comes to going to a show, when it comes to talking to your friends about some type of thing that's on the news, we always have time. But when it comes to learning Torah, usually people find themselves very, very busy because the Yetzirah convinces us that we're busy. So, when a person wants to learn Torah, they have to know that there's a great benefit. Chachamim say, when a person takes on themselves the burden of Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes from them the burdens of the world. What kind of burdens of the world? The thoughts that maybe you're going to lose all your money. Anybody ever went through bankruptcy, anyone went through financial crisis, knows exactly what I'm talking about. What am I going to do? How am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to pay for tuition? How am I going to pay for water? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for rent? Those thoughts are a nightmare. Those thoughts are a nightmare. Or a person, Hashem Yachem, like unfortunately many people are very sick today, they think about girls all day. Or boys, or whatever it is that this generation is everything. All day they think about somebody. Yeah, but you already have a wife. Yeah, but he's thinking about somebody else. All day he has some garbage in his head. He can't think straight. He's constantly thinking about this shtuyot. Or the person is thinking about some other thing, some other crazy thought. What if I was the president? If I was the president, I wouldn't really do all this Doge thing that they're saying. I would just do it and not tell anybody. If I was the president, you know what? I would attack Ukraine. No, I would help. Everybody thinks, if I won the lotto, what would you do if you won the lotto? I don't know. How much is it right now? $300 million. Okay, you know what? $300 million, I could do a lot with it. And they start calculating what they would do with this fictional money. They don't even have a ticket. What is this called? Nonsense. Shtuyot. Nothing. But this spends an enormous amount of time in people's minds. They think about what they're going to do once they have this building. They don't even have a key yet. They don't have the money to buy a building. They don't have the money to even put a deposit. But they're thinking, once I have the building, once I have the car, once I become president, once I become vice president, once I have this, what is this? This is because there's a space in a person's mind because there's a lacking of Torah. So they're constantly imagining all types of nonsensical thoughts. And this is common. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises us, if we take on ourselves the burden of Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to take those away. You're not going to worry about being poor, even if you're poor. You're not going to worry about his wife or that wife. Why? Because you're going to be busy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're going to be busy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So now, if a person doesn't learn Torah, they suffer the consequences. And you see how mental sickness today is very, very common, unfortunately. Whether it's the kids, where every other kid is a attention deficit disorder, or it's the adults that have all types of addictions and things like that. And unfortunately, it's very, very common for people to be sick. The truth is, it's not really physical sickness all the time. It's spiritual sickness. We're missing our purpose. We're missing our Torah. So a person has to understand that when you learn Torah, you're not doing anybody a favor aside from yourself. You're fixing your mind. You're fixing your neshama. And when a person has a klipa in front of them, they have a difficulty, they can't sit still, they hear a shiur Torah, it's interesting, but I gotta go. Where do you gotta go? I don't know, I just have to go. Do you ever see that? It's interesting. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so why are you leaving? I just gotta go. Where are you going? Nobody's home waiting for you. What are you doing? No, I don't know, it's late. It's 7:30. The next... Why? There's a klipa. There's something attracting them to go elsewhere, to run away from the Torah. You start reading a book, all of a sudden he's tired. What happened? You didn't sleep last night? You didn't sleep? How come you're falling asleep? When I first started learning Torah, I'd go to shiur Torah, literally within 37 seconds, I'm in my fourth dream. I don't sleep like that when I tried to go to sleep. Shiur Torah started, sleeping with a sandwich in my mouth. Sleep. Why? There's something in the way. Only way to get through that is break it. It's the only way. You keep going, and you keep breaking, and you keep smashing the window, and you smash the wall, and you smash the klipa until it breaks. It's the only way. There is no easy way. There is no easy way. In order to have the motivation to do that is to realize that you need it, no different than you need air. To need it, you need it like you need food. You need it like you simply need to live. One desire that every normal human being has is the desire to live. Desire to live. Everybody has a desire to live. If a person understands what the Torah is, they'll realize that their desire to live should be equivalent to their desire to learn Torah. Why? You need both. In order to really live, you need the Torah. Why? Because without Torah, it's not really life. It's not really life. You're just, another robot in the world. Wake up in the morning, go to work, you pick up the bags, you throw the bags, you complain about somebody, you yell at somebody complains about you, somebody takes from you, somebody doesn't take from you. It's the same thing every single day. Everybody goes through it. It doesn't matter how much you have or you don't have, everybody goes through the same exact thing. When you learn Torah, you have something else on your mind all the time. You have a Baya on your mind. You have Rava. You have Resh Lakish. You still don't understand. How could it be that Rabbi Yochanan and Resh Lakish that studied so much, how did they get into an argument so bad? Your story, you heard the story 10 years ago. You're still thinking about how did it get that way? How did it get that way that Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos ended up praying and Rabban Gamliel died in a ship? How did it happen? How did it happen that they decided to spend 300 years on one machloket of how to put their hands on a cow? Like, that's what you spend your time on? When you learn Torah, you have a lot of other things on your mind. You don't think about your neighbor. You don't think about what. Why? Because you're busy. You're busy with a Torah mind. You're busy with a Torah mind. You're busy with a mind that has something that's much more intellectual, much more useful than worrying about what would you do if you became president. So a person has to convince themselves, number one, they need to learn Torah. Number two, if they don't learn Torah, the life that they have right now is not really a life. Even if you have money, you don't have money. Trust me, there was days that I had plenty, there was days I didn't have anything. There's no difference. If you don't have Torah, neither one is life. Number three is to learn enough musar to know that there is a consequence if you don't learn Torah. Most of the people that leave the Torah leave it because they do not believe in consequence. They believe in a consequence with the police if they drive too fast on the highway. They believe they have a consequence if the IRS finds out that they've really been cheating on their taxes. They believe that it's a consequence if their wife catches them looking at somebody else's girlfriend. They believe there's consequences in this physical world, but people do not believe in the consequences by Kadosh Baruch Hu. They think that Hashem is Santa Claus. He gives gifts all the time. There's no consequence. A person needs to know there's consequence. Once you know that there's consequence and you use a constant reminder, you realize, okay, sometimes that's what's going to help me. Sometimes that's what's going to help me. To get through those tough days, those difficult times where I don't feel like learning. I don't feel like doing it. And the last part is to know that no matter what you have in this world, at the end, you leave it all here. The money you have, the cars you bought, the houses you built, all the stuff you leave here. And I'll finish off with a story. Story that puts things in perspective, that Be'ezrat Hashem will give a little bit of chizuk. If none of the words counted, this is enough. There was a very wise, wealthy Jew that knew that his time has come. He's going to die at any moment. He had a lot of money, and he knew that he wants to leave his kids something very important. Perhaps something you can't buy with money. So he gave his kids a letter and he told them, once I die, I want you to open this letter and do what it says. That's the will. That's the last request that I have from you. Abba, don't worry. You're never going to die. You're going to live to 5,000. Mashiach is going to come. Nobody believes that this is going to, but it happens. And guess what? One day it happened and he died. So what do the kids do? The kids open the letter. I only have one wish for you kids to do, which is to bury me, tell the Chevrat Kadisha, to bury me with my favorite socks on. You know, those blue socks that have a small hole on the right foot? My favorite socks? I want you to bury me with my favorite socks. Once you do that, please go to the lawyer. He will give you the second letter, which will be the completion of the will. How to divide the estate, the millions and the billions and all the different buildings and so on. So of course the kids are like, that's all we have to do? Bury him with the socks. Get the socks. Shmuel, get the socks. Shmuel gets the socks. They run to Chevrat Kadisha. Listen, you know, my father, tzaddik, he donated, he did good things. All he wants is for us to bury him with the blue socks. Blue socks? No, we don't bury with blue socks. I understand you don't bury with blue socks. That's why he wrote a letter. Look, it's his signature. Look, it's a letter here, his signature. All he wants is to be buried with his blue socks. Sorry, we don't bury with blue socks. We don't bury with socks. We put tachichim if you want. We put the tachich around his leg. No tachich. We just want the socks. I'm sorry, we can't do it. But since you guys are so adamant about it, we're going to ask one of the chachamim. They went to one of the chachamim. Chacham says, absolutely not. We have a tradition. We are not changing it. Not right, not left. Bury him with no socks. No socks. What are the kids going to do? Tell them not to bury? You have to bury him. This is happening. This is real time. It's not today where you could put him in the freezer because you think that you have more. No, you have to bury him. That's it. Finished. They bury him without socks. Now, of course, the kids are upset. Only thing their father wanted from them is socks. They can't even do that. But we still have to go to the lawyer. They get to the lawyer. Said, listen, I don't know, our father told us if we bury him with the socks, give us a letter, but I guess we're not going to look at the letter, so what do we do? He goes, no, don't worry. Your father told me all about it before he died. You still get the letter. Oh, we get the letter? They open the letter. They read the letter. My dear, beloved sons, I know you did not succeed in burying me with my socks. Like, look, Abba, no. I know you're not going to succeed. And for that, I wanted to teach you that no matter what you gather in this world, whether you have buildings and estates and a whole group of horses and gold and diamonds and jewels, when you leave this world, you cannot take anything with you. Even your socks have to stay in this world. Now, don't fight over the inheritance. This is the Musar Eskel that his kids needed to learn, but this is the Musar Eskel that we need to learn. As much time as we have in this world, we have to realize that all that we spend our time gathering, the cars and the houses and the friends, nothing is going to help us. Your wife is not going to help you. Your kids are not going to help you. Your houses are not going to help you. The jewels are not going to help you. Your portfolio is not going to help you. Nothing is going to help you. What's going to help you? How much Torah and good deeds you have. You have that, you have something to go to Olam Haba with. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we have that because the socks, they have to stay here. Thank you very much for having me. Kadosh Baruch Hu bless you. We had Baruch Hashem a very, very big zchut to have such Talmidim that not only take the message, but they actually execute it. To finish the Shas Bavli in a year is a big thing. To finish it as a Baal Tshuva is a big thing. To finish it as a convert, Rabotai Karim, this is what we came to the world to do. To help Am Yisrael grow closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but also collect the best of the nations and bring it to Am Yisrael. Why? That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's gift to his people. Be'ezrat Hashem, we do the same thing. We continue learning, we continue growing, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we have something to go to Shamayim to give HaKadosh Baruch Hu the crown that's complete. Thank you very much. Skol mitzvot.
אני מברך את הרבנים, הרב ירון ראובן, הרב אפרים כחלון, ראשי ארגון בעזרת השם, שהלכו בפי עליון, שעלו מעלה, יהיה להם ברכה והצלחה, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא בישועות ליבם לטובה ולברכה, שבכל אשר יפנו ישכילו ויצליחו, יזכו לעשות כאלה וכאלה, רדיו תורה לאדירה, אמן ואמן.